Hi there, I'm Bree from Texas. Growing up next to the perfect sister who always liked to be the center of attention was exhausting.
A perfect 100! We're so proud of you, Annie.
Bree, you should be more like your sister.
Annie was obviously my parents' favorite, and they just couldn't help rubbing it in my face. My sister was the polar opposite of me. She was smart, fashionable, pretty, and super mean.
Ew! Did a bird make its nest in your hair?
While I was reckless, carefree, and loved animals, I could spend hours playing with them and even brought some home sometimes. But Mom and Dad weren't great fans of my friends. At school, everyone found it hard to believe that I was Annie's sister because she was so perfect and I was, well, weird. Once, in 6th grade, I had forgotten my pet rat in my backpack, and it caused so much chaos in my class.
Oh my god! A rat came out of her bag! Sebastian, come here right now!
Take that thing out of my class!
Annie was so angry about the incident that she dragged me to a corner after class and yelled at me.
You silly oaf! It's fine if you want to embarrass yourself, but do that outside. School is my territory, and everyone knows you're my sister.
Oh, forgive me, Your Majesty. Here, take my pet rat as a peace offering. I snatched my arm from her and she walked away. Why did she always have to be so uptight? Pretty soon, Annie and I graduated high school. Annie with perfect straight A's, and me with, well, you don't want to know. To celebrate Annie's grades, my parents made a big announcement a month before Christmas.
We'll be taking a vacation trip to an island in Guatemala.
What? I don't want to go.
We can't leave you behind to play with your silly animals. You're coming with us, Bree.
Yeah, Bree, not everyone is a creep like you.
You know what an island is full of, right?
Insects and creepy crawlies.
We traveled to Guatemala and vacation on the island wasn't as bad as I thought. On the day we arrived, we all dressed up in our swimsuits to explore the sea. But when I saw Annie, I nearly tripped in shock. She looked so weird in her fur bikini, and I had to hold myself back from bursting into laughter. What's that?
It's a fur bikini made popular by Kim Kardashian herself. Get with the times, dummy.
It makes you look like a furry sea slug. You know the fish might think you're one, right? Annie's face turned red like a tomato about to burst. I snickered and pranced out of the lodge before she could say anything. An hour later, we were chilling by the shore. I was reading some silly sports magazine I had found in the lodge while Annie showed off her pathetic swimming skills to my parents. Just looking at them fawning over her made me want to puke.
I can do the backstroke too.
Suddenly, she shrieked and jumped out of the water, her entire body covered in lobsters.
Ah! Get them off me!
My parents scrambled after her while I stayed in my seat dying of laughter. She looked ridiculous.
I warned you about the fur.
Seeing me laugh made Mom furious.
Your sister's dying and you're laughing, Bree?
It's just lobsters. She'll be fine. God, they were so dramatic.
That's it. Go to your room.
Whatever. I grabbed my things and headed back to the lodge. I stayed there for a while, but I got bored, so I threw on some safari clothes and went exploring. While exploring the island, suddenly I came across a rabbit with its legs stuck in between some branches. I was about to help it when I felt something poke me in the back.
Not one step further, intruder! You're not allowed to harm the animals of this island!
It was a girl, and she sounded like she was going to attack me. The rabbit is stuck. I finally saw her face and was stunned by how pretty she was.
Like your kind is capable of being nice.
Of course I am.
Prove it!
I walked up to the rabbit and freed it, then knelt beside it and stroked its back.
You're different from the other visitors we've had.
Her name was Grenda, and she sounded so surprised I had helped the rabbit. We started talking.
Where are you from?
Texas. Where's that? I realized Grenda had no idea what the outside world was like. She'd never been outside the forest before.
So you don't even know what a telescope is? How does it work?
I taught her how to use the telescope.
Why are your eyes so big?
They're not. The telescope just makes everything bigger. What else do you see?
I can see a tree.
Oh, and a bird, and a snake.
Wow, it's like magic. By the time we were done, it was almost dark, so I had to dash back to the lodge. But we promised to meet at the same spot the next day. After that strange encounter, Grenda and I started to hang out regularly. She didn't care one bit about my strange bond with animals, and we quickly became friends.
Come, I want to show you something.
Grenda grabbed my arm and dragged me to a secluded part of the island, where a magnificent, gigantic bird stood right in its middle. Wow, it's our goddess Momo, reincarnated as a bird. I circled the bird, admiring its beautiful white feathers. It was a dodo bird, which had not been seen in centuries. No one outside my tribe is allowed into this place, but I showed it to you because I trust you, Bree. I'd never betray your trust, Grenda. You know, it's so beautiful, just like you. Grenda's stare made me feel butterflies in my tummy. Her face started to come close. OMG! Was she about to kiss me? But before anything could happen, we heard some noises in the bushes and panicked.
Who's there?
There was no response. Grenda and I looked around but couldn't find anyone. We still couldn't shake the feeling that someone was there. I shouldn't have done this. You're not supposed to be here. Let's leave. We parted ways. I went back to the cabin while she returned to her home. The next day, I was getting ready to explore the other parts of the island when I noticed Grenda approaching me angrily from a distance. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. Grenda! I ran up to her, but she shoved me so hard I was surprised she wasn't secretly an MMA fighter hiding in a young girl's body.
You thief! I should have known better than to trust you!
What are you talking about?
You stole our sacred bird!
What? Grenda, no! I'd never do that! I tried to calm her, but she just ran off in a storm.
I don't ever want to see you again!
I chased after her, but holy macaroni, she was fast! After a while, I stopped to catch my breath and think. Grenda was my only friend. I couldn't lose her. I was going to prove to her I had nothing to do with her missing sacred bird. I began to search all over the island for the bird, but by evening, I couldn't find any trace of it. I returned to the cabin, disappointed, but before I could open the door, I heard Annie's voice from her room.
Ugh! Why are you so heavy?
What was she up to this time? I went to check and was surprised to find the little she-devil had the dodo bird in her room.
Look! You large, lazy monster!
I thought you were supposed to be smart, because this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Stop whining and help me get this bird under control!
Do you have any idea how much trouble you've landed us in? You stole their goddess!
Goddess? Pfft, that's dumb. This is a dodo bird, and I can't wait to show it to Mom and Dad. They'll be so proud when they found out I discovered an extinct bird.
What? It's not yours.
It's mine if I say so.
Annie and I began to fight for the bird.
Let go!
In the midst of our struggle, suddenly some people from Grenda's tribe emerged from the nearby bushes and surrounded us with sharp weapons. In the middle were Dad and Mom, bound in chains, looking so confused.
Honey, what is that thing?
That's not a thing. That's Momo, our goddess, and you will respect her.
Before I could say anything, Annie and I were put in chains and we were all dragged away like common criminals. They moved us to a side of the island I'd never explored before. It was full of huts and more people like Grenda. We were presented before a man I assumed was the king.
This must all be a mistake.
Silence. You, my gods, tell me you were one of those seen with the goddess. Speak.
I didn't waste time spilling everything. My sister, Annie, stole your bird, and I was only trying to retrieve it. But he didn't believe me.
I know better than to trust your kind.
My parents, on the other hand, were really mad at Annie.
I can't believe your greed landed us here, Annie. How could you be so foolish?
Annie couldn't even look at them.
Take them to the lava pit.
We were dragged into a cave where there was a pit of hot, steaming lava. Its heat made me feel like a raw piece of beef about to be turned into steak. One of the men began poking me with a stick, leading me to the edge of the lava pit.
Jump.
Fear gripped my legs tightly, and just when I thought there was no hope, Grenda appeared in front of me, shielding me from the man.
I won't let you touch her or her family.
You pick a bunch of intruders over your own tribe. It's either them or us.
Grenda still wouldn't budge, and that made the king angry.
Since you've chosen a side, you're all banished from this island.
Grenda accepted her fate. As soon as the islanders left, she freed us all from our chains and threw her arms around me. I'm really sorry for not believing you, Bree. It wasn't your fault. I'm sorry too. Saving us cost you your home. Not really. I want to see Texas and telescopes and eat hamburgers. Hamburgers, you mean? We returned to our cabin and prepared to leave.
How can we ever thank you?
She can come to live with us, since she was banished too.
Of course.
They sounded quite gracious. Maybe I could chip in one more. And you can also start treating me better. It's not fair how you always give Annie all the attention.
Oh, honey, we don't mean to. But maybe we have been a little negligent. We promise we'll be better.
Then they turned to Annie.
As soon as we get home, you're grounded.
That's not fair!
Serves you right. We left the island the next day, and during our flight home, Grenda couldn't stop wowing and touching everything in the plane.
Wow, it moves! Sorry. Are those hamburgers? I want them all!
When we got home, I was excited to show her around town. With my guidance, she settled well into the modern world within a few days. One day, we were taking a stroll through the park when I saw a poster. Texas presents to you the annual Christmas talent show.
You should participate.
I think you do brilliantly. I don't think so. I'm not as smart as Annie. Brenda grabbed my chin and looked deep into my eyes. She had the prettiest blue eyes I'd ever seen. They were hypnotic. Enough about Annie. You're an amazing person, and you have an amazing bond with animals. I followed her advice and entered the competition. When I told my parents about it, they were super supportive.
We'd love to watch you perform.
Ever since our vacation on the island, my parents had started to treat me much better, but in the process, they were pushing Annie to the side.
That's not fair! I have my science project that day too!
You're still grounded, Annie. No science project for you.
You know it means a lot to me.
Not one more word.
I looked at Annie, and she seemed really sad. For the first time, I felt sorry for her. I knew that project was a super big deal to her. But I had to focus on my talent show. I started practicing my routines every day with Sebastian, my pet rat. I would show Grenda my performances, and she always laughed and complimented me. You're amazing. Whenever I was near her, my skin felt like it was tingling. I had to admit, I was in love. The day of the talent show finally arrived, and I was so nervous.
You can do this, honey.
Here, drink some water. It'll help. Having the people I cared about most by my side gave me all the motivation I needed. And when my name was called, I ran to the stage and began my performance with confidence. But something happened. I started to burp really loudly. I had to stop my performance and apologize to the audience.
I'm so sorry.
I was so embarrassed I ran off the stage. Dad, Mom, and Grenda rushed towards me.
Oh my god, what happened? Someone sabotaged my performance!
On cue, something fell out of Grenda's bag. It was the bottle of water from earlier, but belch serum was written on the label instead. Did you do this? What? No. I didn't even want to listen to her. Of all people, Grenda was the last person I expected to do something like this.
We invite you to our home, and you repay us by ruining our daughter's performance? There's no way you're staying with us anymore.
Mom and Dad walked me out, leaving Grenda behind all alone. I was heartbroken. The following day was Christmas, and we were carrying out our annual family tradition of gift giving. Annie was sitting on the couch by herself, so I approached her warily. I know we've had our differences, but you deserve to show up at that science project, and I'm sorry for ruining that for you. I talked to Mom and Dad, and you're no longer grounded. Annie's eyes welled up with emotion, and to my surprise, she suddenly hugged me.
Thank you, Bree.
I smiled and hugged her back. Then she started to cry a whole waterfall of tears.
Oh, Bree, I'm so sorry about everything.
I don't understand.
I was the one who ruined your performance yesterday and framed Grenda. I was so jealous Mom and Dad were showing you lots of attention.
I couldn't believe my ears. I owed Grenda an apology. In the spirit of Christmas, I forgave Annie. It's okay. Let's be better sisters to each other from now on, okay?
I promise.
I went to find Grenda in her room. She was packing her stuff ready to leave, but I quickly stopped her. Grenda, I'm so sorry. I just found out Annie had framed you. I should have believed you. I should have been a better friend. Oh, come here. Grenda hugged me. I did the same thing with the dodo bird. Now we're even. I wish I had gotten you a present. You don't have to. You're my biggest gift this Christmas. You've always been a gift to me since the first day I met you. Suddenly, Grenda pulled me to her and kissed me. This was the best Christmas ever.